Ever get the feeling there's more to a diagnosis than meets the eye? We're about to dive into a condition that does just that. Think arthritis, but with the twist we're talking deformities, tendon ruptures, the works.
And it highlights how crucial it is to dig deeper, especially when those initial diagnoses just aren't adding up.
Exactly, and today we're going straight to the source with a research article called, get this, Musculoskeletal Disease in MDA5-related type I interferonopathy, a Mendelian mimic of Jaccoud's arthropathy.
Now, I know that's a mouthful, but trust me, it's way more interesting than it sounds.
That's why you're here. All right, so this article breaks down this condition. It's a type of interferonopathy, which basically means the immune system's stuck on high alert.
Always ready for a fight, even when there's no enemy.
Exactly. And that, as you can imagine, can cause some serious problems. So we're going to unpack all of that and why it matters for, well, everyone. You ready to jump in?
Let's do it. So the research focuses on two families. We can call them Family 1938 and Family 1972. Each family has multiple members dealing with this rare genetic condition.
And they really illustrate how different this thing can look from one person to the next.
For sure. So in Family 1938, we've got three women, all experiencing joint issues since childhood. Initially, doctors thought it was juvenile arthritis, then maybe psoriatic arthritis.
But the treatments weren't helping much, were they?
Nope. And then there were those other symptoms, deformities, limited movement, even calcium deposits in their tendons.
Hold on. Calcium deposits in tendons. That's not your typical arthritis symptom, is it?
Definitely not. And that's what clued the researchers in that something else was going on.
Okay, so we've got Family 1938. What about Family 1972? What are we seeing there?
Well, in this family, we've got a young girl, only 9 years old, and her father, who's 47. They both have joint pain. But then there are these other things.
Other things. Like what? Give us the details.
The little girl's teeth were slow to come in, and her dad has had multiple tendon ruptures.
Wow, tendon ruptures. That's serious stuff.
Right. So you've got this mix of joint pain, which could be a lot of things, and then these more unusual symptoms that really make you stop and think.
It really shows how varied this condition can be. Two families, different ages, different severities, and a whole lot of questions.
Absolutely. And that's a crucial point for anyone listening. This condition doesn't discriminate. It can affect anyone at any age in a myriad of ways.
So two families, a whole lot of symptoms, and one big medical mystery. What did the researchers find? What's the common thread here?
Well, it all comes down to their genes. They all have this mutation in a gene called MDA5.
MDA5. Okay, so for those of us who aren't geneticists, break it down. What does this gene actually do?
So MDA5 is kind of like your body's early warning system for viruses.
Okay, I'm listening.
It's always on the lookout, patrolling for anything suspicious. And when it spots a potential viral invader, bam, it sends out an alarm signal to mobilize the immune system.
So it's like the lookout on a ship yelling, "Virus approaching!"
Exactly. But now imagine that lookout is a little, shall we say, overzealous.
Overzealous how?
Well, in these families, because of that MDA5 mutation, their alarm system is basically stuck in the on position.
So it's like a car alarm that won't stop blaring, even when there's no one around.
Precisely. It's constantly sending out those fight, fight, fight signals, even when there's no real threat, no virus in sight.
And what happens when your body's in constant fight mode like that? Isn't that exhausting?
It's incredibly taxing. All that constant inflammation, all those immune cells going into overdrive, it takes a toll. And over time, that's what leads to the damage, particularly in the joints and tendons.
Ah, so it's not the virus itself causing the damage, but the body's own immune system going haywire.
Exactly. It's like friendly fire causing more harm than good.
That makes sense for the joint pain, even the tendon issues. But what about those other symptoms we talked about? The delayed tooth eruption in the young girl, the calcium deposits in the heart and brain. How does that all fit in with an overactive immune system?
Well, that's the fascinating part. This study really shows how interconnected our bodies are. This single gene mutation, even though it primarily affects the immune system, it can have these ripple effects throughout different parts of the body.
Oh, so it's like a domino effect.
Kind of. That chronic inflammation can throw all sorts of things off balance.
So it's like a chain reaction. It starts with this one faulty gene, but then the effects can snowball. It's really incredible when you think about it. And it makes me wonder, are there other conditions out there that might be connected to this MDA5 gene or to interferonopathies in general?
That's a great question, and it's something researchers are still trying to figure out. But there is one condition that they specifically mentioned in this article that I think is worth discussing, Jaccoud's arthropathy.
Right. I remember that name for the title of the paper. Jaccoud's arthropathy. What is that, and what does it have to do with all of this?
So Jaccoud's arthropathy is this rare type of joint problem that's often seen in people with lupus.
Lupus. Okay, now that's a condition I've definitely heard of.
Right. And just like this MDA5 condition we've been talking about, lupus is another autoimmune disease where the body's immune system mistakenly attacks its own tissues.
So we've got two conditions, both involving the immune system going a little haywire and both causing problems in the joints.
Exactly. And the similarities don't stop there. Both conditions can cause these really noticeable deformities in the joints, but without directly damaging the cartilage.
That's interesting. So two different paths leading to similar outcomes. What's the significance of that? Why do researchers think these two conditions are connected?
They're calling this rare genetic condition a Mendelian mimic. It's like a simplified model that might hold clues to understanding the more complex workings of Jaccoud's arthropathy.
So by studying this rare condition, they hope to gain insights into Jaccoud's arthropathy and potentially find better ways to diagnose and treat both.
Exactly. They're hoping to connect the dots between these two conditions and maybe even find some common therapeutic targets.
This is mind-blowing. Who knew that a rare genetic condition could hold so much potential for understanding more common diseases?
That's the beauty of scientific research. Sometimes the most unexpected discoveries can lead to the biggest breakthroughs.
Okay, so we've got these two conditions, both with tricky diagnoses, both linked to immune system chaos. How do doctors even begin to untangle this? How do they know what they're dealing with?
Well, it's all about recognizing the subtle clues. And one of the key tools they use is, you guessed it, those interferon signatures we keep talking about.
Right. Those telltale signs of an immune system on overdrive.
Yeah.
Like a flashing neon sign, right?
Exactly. And just like every alarm has a different sound, people with this MDA5 mutation have a very specific interferon signature. It's like their immune system is sending out a coded message.
So a blood test can crack the code.
Exactly. Doctors can measure those interferon levels and get a read on what the immune system's up to. And that can be crucial, especially when those initial diagnoses just aren't adding up.
It's amazing how much information is hidden within our bodies, just waiting to be deciphered. This is why we love doing these deep dives. It's about asking the right questions, looking beyond the surface, and uncovering those hidden connections.
Absolutely. It's about staying curious and pushing the boundaries of knowledge. And sometimes it's those rare conditions, like the one we discussed today, that hold the key to unlocking a deeper understanding of more common diseases.
So if you or someone you know is struggling with unexplained joint pain, especially with a family history of similar issues, remember this. There might be more to the story than meets the eye. It could be something like this MDA5 condition or something else entirely. The important thing is to advocate for yourself, ask those tough questions, and don't be afraid to dig a little deeper.
It's about being your own health advocate and never giving up the search for answers.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. We explored a rare genetic condition, uncovered its connection to the immune system, and even delved into the fascinating world of interferon signatures. It's been quite a journey.
And remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to discover, so many questions still unanswered.
That's the beauty of science, isn't it? Always pushing the boundaries, always seeking knowledge. So until next time, keep those questions coming, keep exploring, and keep that curiosity alive.